new coach of the Bulls Currie Cup team, Edgar Marutlulle. When the news came that you're getting the appointment, of course, probably came before anyone else knew. How was it delivered, and how did you receive it?
No, I was asked if you'd like to become the Currie Cup head coach of the Currie Cup for this year, and I thought about it for maybe a day or so, but I inevitably just said yes the next day. I felt absolutely flabbergasted, in the ocean, completely out of depth. But I think as the days kept creeping forward and more planning was done, and I already had done initial sort of like rough planning in my own mind, because I'd already anticipated the move in about last year. So I already anticipated what was going to happen. So I had my rough plan. So when they asked me, I produced all the plans already, all the players available, already the squads available, and so I wasn't really perturbed by the question or by the thought of that.
Yeah, was it Jake? Was it Edgar Marutlulle?
No, Jake said, Edgar, please let's meet up for coffee. We sat down in a restaurant, had a coffee, and he asked me, no, Edgar, would you like to be, would you consider being head coach of the Vodacom Bulls in the Currie Cup? I said, Jake, it's an absolute honor, but there would be conditions for that, and I think we've met some of those conditions, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I want to take it back a little bit to your playing career. You know, I think we've spoken in the past where, you know, you moved from the Lions to the Kings.
Yeah.
And even before Lions, you had to do quite a bit of grafting in your playing career. You know, I think you were Poch at some point. Really backwater rugby places that you had to do. You know, how proud of you are you of the efforts you've made in your rugby career as a whole, from there, and you know, the Kings and the Bulls, and then now here you're the head coach of the Currie Cup team.
It fills me with a lot of pride, to know that the long journey is rewarded, and that it isn't always just people that are earmarked from the age of 6 or 7 that can really go do successful things, or really be considered for successful things. When I was asked to be head coach, I thought about, when I'd said yes in my mind, but I asked myself, like, Edgar, why you? The credibility question to myself, like, why me? Out of all the people, I'm sure there's 10,000 other coaches in the country that probably could have gotten to be the Bulls Currie Cup coach. But then I searched myself to find out why not me. And I think having had walked the journey in South Africa, having walked and played in all the dingiest corner, played in every single major rugby playing stadium in South Africa, and I couldn't have done that without having it gone through all the age groups, having been under 15, under 16, under 18, SA schools, SA 19, SA students, SAA, playing for the Leopards in the first division, playing club rugby at Raiders in Johannesburg and in Brixton, having played some of those, being in Rustenburg as a player, playing for Impala Rugby Club, playing some stadiums where there's hardly any rugby. I mean, even in Poch, we played in this place called Viljoenskroon. We played a game against Viljoenskroon, one of the Vodacom Cup games. And so as I searched myself to find why not me, I realized I had to go through all those things that I can stand here today and feel absolutely credible, worthy of being part of the South African rugby story, that I'm a person that's walked the path. There isn't a single step that I've missed along the way to be who I am today. I've coached under 19s, 18 schools, 21s, 20s. I've been involved Currie Cup. There isn't really a step that I've missed in South Africa.
And do you think that makes you relate to a lot of players that will be playing Currie Cup? Some of them whose careers, they want to make the step up. Some of them have just come out of youth programs. Some of them clubs, because there's a great club involvement under the Bulls umbrella here. You know, do you think they will relate to some of the stories you have to tell?
I think it's the realness and its authenticness of that, because I can relate to every single person that's in the group in this group. I know what it is to to be a club player. I know what it is to be a club player, being invited to a Vodacom pool system. I mean, we brought in 6 club players last week from some of the clubs, and I can understand that some of them are good enough to be in the Vodacom pool system. I know what it is to be a junior in a high performance system, having been at the Lions, having been at the Leopards. I know what it is to be a player like Phumzile Mosi, having come from small unions to the Bulls. I've been the same guy, but I also know what it is to be the player of the year at a top union as well, in URC or in a Super Rugby franchise. So I know how to relate to Elrich, to Johan Grobler and some of the players, about 40% I've already played with as well, as they were all my juniors while I was here at the Bulls. So it's really, I'm not talking to young players. I feel their heartbeat. I know exactly what they're experiencing, and it's yesterday. It's not a 40 years ago experience. It's still post 2010. I was still playing. I was around running at the same stadium with some of these players.
Just some of the parts that you've taken, what would you glean from the coaches that have coached you? I think John Mitchell's one of them, a former Bulls coach, obviously. Your coaches at the Kings and at the Bulls who brought you here. What are some of the coaches and influences you've gotten over the years?
Having such a wide array of experiences in South Africa, I think I know what some coaches were not good at. I know a lot of people also understimulated some of the players, but I also know some coaches were really exceptional. I think at the moment I've also got a really exceptional, we've got exceptional coaching staff at the Bulls, having had Jake, having Gert Smal, that's also one that's travelled all around the world, having Sean Everett, having a lot of the coaches here have all got incredible experiences of being around. But I've also been fortunate to work under guys like Buerta Yuma, and also John Mitchell. I mean, John Mitchell to have coached me twice in my career was like really seeing a solar eclipse twice in your life. So really fortunate in that, and I can now call him my friend. I mean, we text, as a good guy. Having been under Eugene Elov, having been under Sean Roux with the SAA, being under Matthew Proudfoot in some of those instances. So really wide array of individuals in South Africa and all spectrums of the South African context. Really privileged to have those experiences and have such a wide experience.
Yeah. When you came to the Bulls, I think it was on the back of a very good Southern Kings season. I think it was 2016.
2016.
I think you made the SAA team as well that year. Ackerman's team, I think.
Yes.
I think he was the coach of the SAA team at that time with Olukanyo.
Yes.
I'm not sure if my Pimps was in there as well.
Yes.
And you came to the Bulls on the back. You were sensational, at hooker at the Kings. Obviously earned your move, but injuries kept coming back. The big bugbear of a lot of players. How did you feel at that time? About your playing career. Were you a bit down about the chance to really make a mark?
No, to be honest, it wasn't really injuries that kept me out. I think only 2 years after having been here, then really did I get the Achilles. I think it was the ups and downs, the roller coaster of selection. I think Coach Nolas Murray was coach at the time, and then John Mitchell came after that. But I think the Bulls at the time was not really a conducive environment in terms of performance, in terms of culture-wise. I think we're really struggling at the time from a Bulls perspective, and so I was shocked at the transition, having come out of the Kings, to see the state of the Bulls then. And I think that's why I value where I am now even more so, because I understand I can relate to players. I know what the dark days are like in Pretoria, but I also know what the good days are like when you're winning Currie Cups and Super Rugby and loadeds and all that sort of stuff. So when the injury came 2 years later after that, I think I was already 30. I think I was already 30 when the injury came, and I've got no regret whatsoever. Really happy to have been at the Bulls for 2 years as a player, and to also experience the change room of what it is to be in a Vodacom Bulls, to see the pride, to run out at Loftus and really see what it means to people of Pretoria and to South Africa. So it's never in vain. I can also relate to more players now because I know what it is to be at the Bulls and not necessarily play for 3-4 months, because then I can relate to those guys. And some of those guys I have to tap on the shoulder now in the Currie Cup and say, listen, you've got to play for us, and he might be feeling untoward, and I can relate to that and say, I know exactly what you feel like.
Yeah, of course. It's a different dynamic now because the URC is playing at the same time, and Champions Cup is still in there. Is playing at the same time as the Currie Cup. You know, it's all these major tournaments all at the same time. Is it challenging, exciting? Because people are going to look at the Currie Cup differently now. It's kind of slapping in the middle of what is probably the most packed rugby season I've ever had.
No, I think it definitely does have its challenges, but for me in my personal journey, it's probably the most exciting time. I think it's challenges. I think from a context perspective, some people might see it as challenges, but when you've been given your first opportunity to be head coach of the Vodacom Blue Bulls, the challenges aren't really glaring at you that much, as more the excitement and more the prospect of success. So we'll take it as it comes in the time, but fortunate to have had good conversations with Jake, and also regarding how we value the different competitions. And I think the Blue Bulls are one of the teams that last year used the URC players on a Wednesday night. They'd play Currie Cup and they'd play URC on Saturday. So fortunately, we take the Currie Cup very, very serious, and it's non-negotiable in Pretoria. It's synonymous. Currie Cup and the Blue Bulls are synonymous with each other.
Yeah, one of the most Currie Cups, second only to Province.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the Currie Cup as a whole, you know, obviously it's lost a lot of its shine, but you kind of felt that, you know, with Jake White coming back, taking it seriously, the battles with the Sharks, you know, I'd spoken to Sean earlier about, you know, coming here, losing by a point, and then getting hammered as well later on in the year in the Currie Cup finals. You know, there's always this conversation about its place in the rugby ecosystem, you know, and a lot of people say it should stay, some think it should go. But what is your feeling about the Currie Cup's place in the rugby ecosystem?
I think people recognize South Africa with the Currie Cup. Wherever you go anywhere in the world, people will think about South African rugby, say what competition gets played in South Africa. Everyone talks about the Currie Cup. So there definitely is a must for South Africa. I think it's a bread and butter of South Africa. But unfortunately, I think some of the circumstances last year where we played the Currie Cup semi-final on a Friday and played URC final on a Saturday was really, really challenging from an entire organization point of view.
Just on that, if you can just also add about the sort of juxtaposition between having like 41,000 fans in the URC.
Nice.
But, you know, you're probably not going to get that in the Currie Cup. How do you keep players sort of motivated still, you know, coming here and still want to put on a show, even though, you know,
Perfect.
you won't get the same kind of numbers, yeah.
You know, I think South African derbies, doesn't matter what it is, I think you always have a particularly increased interest from South African people, and I think it doesn't matter what the competition is. Everyone knows the Bulls play Western Province. It's always a plus minus 15,000 supported game, and I think South African fans all know that, and they all relate to that. It doesn't matter what competition it is. You still, Western Province people hate the Bulls, and Bulls people don't like Western Province guys. So it's irrespective of competition. But I think as you look at the planning of the year for the competition, there's going to be the last 5-6 weeks of the competition. The URC will have already ended, and also the Champions Cup will have already ended. So that will be an even much more probably increased amount of competitiveness and stature, and some of the teams will have no other competition except the Currie Cup. So we've got to make sure we're aligned well until that period and moment, but not taking away that you've got to make sure that you're in a favorable position by that time.
Yeah, tell me, how's it going to work between yourself and Gert Smal, who coached the Currie Cup team last year to the semis, I think?
Yeah.
What's the relationship going to be now?
No, I consider Gert one of my best mentors, having been at the Bulls, really a guy that everything I still aspire to be and more. Gert has done most of that in his career. He's coached Springboks to World Cup. He's coached British against the British Irish tour. He's coached Ireland forwards, Ireland team as a team. He's been a director of rugby at Western Province. He's been a head coach. He's coached in Japan. So for me, my relationship is always an excellent one with Gert. I consider my mentor really a person that I can tap on the shoulder as a resource. And any coach in the world would look forward to have Gert Small as assistant or someone that he can relate to and say, Gert, how do you feel about this and what do you think of that?
Yeah, is it going to be crucial in your growth as a coach? You know, I mean, you're surrounded.
Yeah.
Sean, you said Jake.
Yeah.
I mean, these are guys who, this is like huge intellectual property. I mean, directors of rugby, I guess, in their own right. You know, Sean didn't have the title at the Sharks, but he was the head of the organization up until recently. Jake, of course, we don't need to go through his extensive CV. Fab, you mentioned. Just being surrounded with Knowles as well, who's been the head coach here as well. You know, what is it like being surrounded by such IP?
I think it definitely takes away the dauntingness of the proposition placed at hand, and I think those were some of the prerequisites to me being part of this job, to make sure we've got the right support, making sure we've got the right people to support this campaign. So I think I'm absolutely privileged in my own right mind to be 35 and to be at the Bulls and have all those caliber of individuals around me, because I know it hasn't always been like that for some of the coaches, and I also know it isn't also a normal thing. I think it's an extraordinary time with the amount of resources that are available, and I look forward to it. I have great conversations length with Gert, with Sean Everett, and Jake and I also have really, really extensive conversations trying to make sure I tap into that and really, really grow myself as a coach, and also really make the Blue Bulls successful as can be.
Yeah. Just finally, you obviously, I think you'd be the first black head coach of the Bulls in the Currie Cup, you know, but you're up against other of your kind, Joey at the Sharks, Nzwaka Nkosi at the Lions. You know, what do you make of the honor, first of all, you know, to be the first black person to lead the Bulls Currie Cup team, and what do you make of the growth of the other guys? You know, Zaitz, I'm sure you'll know from the Lions. Joey, you'll know because he was here, and you'll know from the Lions as well.
Yeah.
What do you make the growth of those guys? Pure Nomlom as well, who's at the Sharks. I think he'll be assisting Joey in the Currie Cup campaign. You know, a handful of guys that are really growing. Bafana, let's say under 20s if you include him as well. What do you make of that? Your honor first, and then the growth of you guys as the next black coaches.
I think my honor, I think it's a lot of people's sweat, a lot of people's sacrifices in South African rugby as a whole, that I get to represent their dream, their ideal, and I don't take that lightly. I think there's a lot of coaches that have had every desire in South Africa to have some sort of position in the rugby landscape, and I get one at probably the highest franchise team, to be able to do that, and to do that at such a time as well in my career. So I'm really honored for myself, for my family. I grew up coming to Loftus with my father, but we came to the soccer games here at Loftus when we still Connor Minolta. We came here to watch Sundowns and African Cup of Nations tournament. So it's really for the Pedi people from Limpopo, people from where I'm from, Fosloras, and all those people. So it's a massive privilege. I know I ride on a lot of people's dreams, hopes, aspirations, to say that they can also, that they hope that there could be someone like that, or even, I don't think a lot of people could have hoped for that. I think it's false. It's bewildering in terms of what we all would have hoped for. I think no one would have expected that from the Blue Bulls, to really be so radical, or not radical, but forward in how they think and how they position the people there. And I'm also not forgetful of the fact that I've also walked this journey in South Africa. So it's not really something that was cast upon me. No, well, let's find someone for that. I think I've paid my dues. I've walked the paths of South Africa in and out, played internationally as well in some of the different countries with with the Super Rugby, and really proud for that, and really happy and honoured to also get a little bit of reward, and also grateful to also be developing and moving forward as well. I think this is just a step. It's not an arriving point. It's a step going forward. So to have this as a platform to go forward, I'm excited for what, if this is what it is, it looks like it now. I'm excited to what the future might hold, and I hope it also shocks me in that as well, that as I was shocked by how the Bulls have come forward in this year. In regards to the other individuals, I think I know all of them relatively well. I know all of them relatively well through coaching through all the juniors against them, and really, really proud for them. I think Joey's done an incredible job to be at the Sharks. We could have been obviously at another franchise up the road on the N1 other side of Transkei. We could have been wearing the jersey on that side, and Zwake has done an excellent job. Also, never having played rugby at any sort of significant level, but for him to really pay his due and really do what he does well at the Lions, at the schools, and all the different areas he does, and really, really, really proud of him. I think P was also, I mean, he's come through the ranks really nicely, done all the SA development teams, done all the Selborne, done all the Sharks sort of stuff, and really excited to see what that brings. Mzwani Listik, having coached me as well at EP Kings, I mean, he's just a testament of what is still to come, where we all still aspire for some of those things. He's already achieved some of those, and Bafana Ntlek was doing a great job. I mean, they won the SA Summer Series last year with the team, and they look forward to hosting 2 junior World Cups in South Africa, and he'll be in charge of that. So really, really proud of every single person. I think we all look forward to it. I think we all carry the beacon for people that might not necessarily think that rugby is part of them, and we also carry the hopes that they could also be included in that. We all carry the beacon to say that everything is possible in South Africa, that it's all inclusive, and there's opportunities out there if you really put in the hard graft, as everyone has done, and put in the hard graft, and they've earned every single stripe and every single sweat where they are. They've earned that. So we also send that message that you've also got to walk through the proper journey, so that when you receive whatever is dreamt of for you, that you have walked the path and that you're credible in that, so that no one can ever take it away. Whether they might take away the position, but they can always never take away your IP, your credibility, your ability to fill the shoe that you're sitting in, or fill the seat that you're sitting in, and really know that I'm not surprised that I'm here in a certain position.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Perfect.
Wonderful.